Lately, there's been a lot on news and talks, well, especially in UK, well, say that, to be fair, in a lot of other countries as well, but all these governments spying on us and all these agencies collecting our data and that sort of thing. But here's the truth. This didn't suddenly start. It's been happening for years. Let's put it this way. Have you ever noticed how you thought about something and then you search for it maybe once, then suddenly it's everywhere? Ads, recommendations, notifications. It feels like somebody has been watching you the whole time, right? Well, they kind of are. Through your browser, that is. And you know what? I was guilty of ignoring that for a long time. So I made it my mission. I went deep into the internet, downloaded and tested a whole bunch of alternative browsers, and not the big giant ones. That's the whole point. They're the worst. But the ones that are built for privacy, security, and real user control. But, but, before we get into them, here were my rules. First of all, and this is the most important one, they have to be fast and reliable when it comes to security updates because that is key whenever you're using any computer system. Secondly, no sending your sensitive data back to the developers. I'm talking about your browser history and that sort of thing. Third, they are efficient in terms of performance and RAM usage. I'll get into a bit more. No mandatory login requirements. They are 100% free and easy enough for anybody to use. My name is Arya, this is AZM Lab, and here are my top 5 alternative browsers you should be using in 2025. Let's start with the king of privacy, and that is Tor browser. And you know what's crazy? Tor wasn't actually created by a privacy activist or a tech nerd. It actually began as a US military project designed to hide the identity of its operatives online. Eventually, it became this whole open source software, and today, well, it is used by journalists and activists, or in fact, anybody who needs maximum online anonymity. So, how does it work, you ask, right? Well, to kind of oversimplify it, Tor hides your location by bouncing your internet traffic through several encrypted servers called nodes all around the world before it reaches the site that you're visiting. Each node only knows one step in the chain, and no single point ever knows both who you are and where you're going. That's what makes it incredibly difficult to trace your connection back to you. Now, when it comes to installation, installing Tor is straightforward, and the moment you launch it, you get to kind of choose whether you want to connect to the Tor network. But here's the catch. The network uses random exit locations. So you might appear to be in Germany 1 minute, then Canada the next, and that means you will sometimes see websites in different languages, and certain services like online banking or UK only shops, for example, may refuse to load because your connection looks foreign. So, in terms of everyday usage, that is going to be an issue. But when it comes to its environment, because it is based on Firefox, very familiar, easy to browse, easy to kind of navigate, no issue there. And when it comes to performance, guys, RAM usage was pretty average during a 4K playback. But because your traffic is bouncing through multiple encrypted hoops, page loading, well, speeds are noticeably slower. And that's to be expected. Tor is designed for privacy, not speed. So here's my recommendation when it comes to Tor. Tor is absolutely unmatched when it comes to anonymity. If privacy is your top priority, this is the browser. But if you're looking for an alternative for a smooth everyday browsing experience, this is not really the one. Now, if you want a browser that actually feels fresh, different, and insanely customizable, then Vivaldi is the one to look at. It is Chromium based, but here's the interesting part. It was actually created by the developers of Opera. After Opera got sold to a Chinese consortium, basically the founder left and built Vivaldi to bring back everything power users loved about the old Opera. And because of that, Vivaldi has its own identity. It isn't open source, but it still leans heavily into privacy, no tracking, and frequent updates and all that, which is fantastic. But it is still something to remember. Now, the moment you install it, you will definitely notice how colorful and lively it feels. This isn't just another Chrome copy. And let's just say this, even though it looks different from most browsers, it is surprisingly easy to get used to. You get a ton of different sort of customization options, themes, layouts, tab styles, and all sorts. It's pretty awesome to kind of play around with at least. And you can really kind of, I should say, make the browser feel like your space in a way, which is awesome as well. And performance-wise, well, it felt pretty fast to me. And in terms of kind of general browsing, switching between different tabs, pretty snappy as well. And RAM usage was average. I wouldn't say super fast or super slow. As I said, pretty average. So overall, if you loved Opera's customization back in the day, but you want something more modern, fast, and not too tied to sort of a big tech companies, well, Vivaldi is definitely a solid option. Now, onto one of the most trusted and popular privacy-focused browsers, and that is Brave. It was actually created by some of the original developers behind the Mozilla Foundation. So it has some real solid foundation and a clear message. Strong privacy, no tracking, and none of the data harvesting nonsense you get from big tech browsers. Now, there is one thing though, or two I should say. I do have to admit, Brave has had a couple of controversial moments in the past, involving crypto features and some affiliated links and so on, but those issues were addressed and removed. And the team were pretty transparent about it. So I'm not going to hold that against them, but it is something to still bear in mind and keep an eye out for. Now, Brave is also a Chromium-based browser, which means it will instantly feel familiar if you've been using Chrome especially. But it does add its own kind of touch to feel a bit more polished in its own way, and obviously privacy focused as well, which is brilliant. It is very easy to pick up and start using right away, which is awesome, especially for novice users. And in terms of usability and just general technical issues, the only issue I ran into was some, shall we say, video flickers on the screen. It's strange, especially at 4K, but that was quickly fixed by simply just turning off hardware acceleration. But other than that, performance has been snappy, responsive, and the RAM usage, well, average, so no problems there either. For me, guys, Brave is a great alternative to Chrome. It performs well, respects your privacy, and other than that sort of a one minor fix, it's been a reliable browser that I think most users will be happy with. Now, when it comes to surprises, guys, LibreWolf genuinely got me because I hadn't even heard of it before researching for this video. And once I looked into it, I discovered that it is easily the most community-driven browser on this entire list. The whole idea behind LibreWolf is simple. Take Firefox, remove the tracking, remove the telemetry, remove the bloat, and give users a cleaner and more private version right out of the box. And that is pretty evident. As soon as you load up the page, roll down and you will see they will deliver uBlock Origin built in with the browser straight away, which I always recommend to everybody anyways. They promote the fact that they're all about security, how they regularly update it, and it's a simple kind of environment, which is fantastic. And in practice, guys, once you load LibreWolf, you'll notice that it is almost identical to Firefox because it is based on Firefox. And, well, just without the clutter. And during my testing, it had some of the best RAM performance of all the browsers I tried. It felt snappy, responsive, and honestly, just very pleasant to use. And for me, guys, as long as the community keeps supporting it, I think LibreWolf stand out as one of the simplest and cleanest privacy-focused alternatives out there. It is definitely a great choice if you want the Firefox experience, just without the extras you don't need. I'm not exaggerating. When I say Mullvad Browser, feels like something right between Firefox and Tor. Because that's basically what it is. It started as a joint project between the team behind Tor and Mullvad VPN with the idea of taking the privacy benefits and the hardened setting from Tor browser, but stripping away the limitations that make Tor, well, kind of difficult for everyday use, as we kind of covered earlier. Since it is based on Firefox, the whole environment feels very familiar and easy to navigate, but because it doesn't route traffic through the whole Tor network, and because some of the, should I say, stricter Tor level protections are relaxed, it feels noticeably faster. And just like LibreWolf, RAM usage was impressively light, making the overall experience smooth and responsive. So I would say for me, Mullvad Browser is a perfect option for people who like what Tor stands for, but gets, shall we say, frustrated with the usability issues and the kind of slow speed and some of the broken websites that you can come across because they just wouldn't load. It gives you a lot of privacy philosophy, let's just say, but in a form that actually works as a fast, practical Firefox alternative for an everyday browser. Hope this video has helped, and if it has, don't forget, as always, to smash that like button and do drop your comments down below. Love to hear them, whether you've been using some of these browsers already or you've been using something else that you think is even better, guys. Let's share some ideas and improve the community. And even if you have a question on something completely different, guys, drop it down below. You never know, it might be something that I cover on the next video. And for that, and a lot more, whether it's on free tools, how-to guides, mythbusters, tech news, all sorts, guys, ding that notification and hit that subscribe button. And until then, take care and peace.